All right, so let's go ahead and get started on part one of the organizer. All right, so the origins of the Industrial Revolution. What does origin mean? Yeah. Yeah, the beginning. It kind of looks like you're about to say original, right? Okay, how did it start? Okay, how was the original, right? How did it start? So at the start of the 1700s, most people lived in Europe and the United States. They were farmers, and so there weren't any like big factories yet, and so many people, if they needed something, they made it by hand, right? If they needed clothing or any of that sort, they made it by hand. By the mid 1700s, we see agriculture improving, we see roads improving, cities and populations started growing. If you think all the way back to the fall when we were talking about how the colonies, right, started growing and becoming larger, especially like Boston or New York, right? Cities started becoming more popular. So we start seeing traditional manufacturing methods. They weren't producing enough goods to meet everyone's needs, especially in these cities, as population started to grow. And so people began using machines to create processes that made goods in more efficient ways. So they were using machines, right, to basically create goods in a more efficient, faster way. And so these developments then led to the Industrial Revolution, which is a period of rapid growth using machines for manufacturing and production. And so you may be wondering, right, we talked about the American Revolution or we talked about the French Revolution. Those were what? Wars. Is this a war? No. Okay, so the word revolution doesn't necessarily mean war. It is used in a lot of wars, like the term, okay? But a revolution means that it was, I hate using the word again in a sentence, it was revolutionized. It was created new, it was developed more, right? It grew. Yeah, it's a new change, okay? A new change. Are we good on this slide? Okay, so this word revolution again is a new change. It's going to change the way things were, right? The American Revolution changed from the colonies to being owned by England to now being their own country. Same kind of deal with the French Revolution. Here, the Industrial Revolution, industries and manufacturing changed the way people lived. Yeah, it definitely it changed. Yep, it changed the way people live. All right, going forward. So new machines and processes. The first important breakthrough was how textiles or cloth items were made. So textiles are cloth item, cloth. Okay, so a textile is cloth. So we have Richard Arkwright inventing a large spinning frame called a water frame, which could produce dozens of cotton threads at the same time. So it's going to speed up how cloth then was made. We have Samuel Slater, a skilled British mechanic who immigrated to the United States and opened a textile mill. Right, he memorized. That was remembered from yesterday's The Scavenger. He memorized textile mill plans from Britain and brought them over to the United States. right? So we see, okay, it started, this Industrial Revolution actually started more in Great Britain, in Europe, and right, we start seeing people started memorizing and bringing over those ideas and plans to the United States. Another one was, right, when the United States needed to make more muskets. Muskets are a type of gun, okay? Eli Whitney came up with the idea of interchangeable parts, making parts of a machine that are identical. So just making, right, a part that is the same over and over again, which then sped up mass production. Yeah, right. Interchangeable parts are able to change, interchange, right? Change up the parts. Ashley, please get off that. Are we good? Okay. Come on. All right. So Britain had more skilled workers than the United States, which will allow for lower cost of production and lower prices. I mean, it makes sense. The Great Britain was obviously more developed than the United States, right? And so, especially with this industrial revolution, many manufacturers, they just could not compete with the low British prices. I mean, it makes sense, right? If you're looking to buy something that was manufactured, right, something that was put together, made, you're going to pay the lower price versus the higher price. During the British blockade of the War of 1812, so remember back thinking to that War of 1812 we talked about with the United States and Great Britain, many Americans were forced to buy from American manufacturers then. So realizing, right, buying local, it helped the United States. So actually this helped, right, the United States, and many more banks started to invest in American manufacturers, right? They would give money to help them start their business, and then they would, in returns, get the money back, the investment back. So it led to, right, this a period of economic money, okay, growth and industrial growth. So the industry, right, the industrial industry started growing, which then led to a growth of money for the country as well. I believe we just have one more slide, right? Or is this then? Yeah, no, this one. I was like, one more. Are we good? I don't know if I heard a no. You guys do know that you just have to like double click the lines and then start typing there, right? Okay. You don't have to backspace the lines every time. Just literally double click the line and then it'll highlight it. And then as soon as you start typing, it will replace that, what is highlighted. All right. So impacts then of the Industrial Revolution. Impacts would mean, right, what significance did this Industrial Revolution have later on? We're gonna see that today in the in the New Zealand article. So many mill owners couldn't find enough workers for their mills. Entire families, including children. So yes, you would not be at school right now. You would be working, most likely, for your family. They were hired to work in factories and mills, especially if your families need money. You would be working to help them out. Yep. Some mill owners built housing even for their workers. As more workers came from other countries, employers were paying workers lower wages. Like Javier was saying, you got paid low wages. And so some workers were worried about the low wages and feared losing their jobs. And so they formed trade unions to improve pay and working conditions. So we see a lot of different, it really impacted the workforce. Okay. So the Industrial Revolution really impacted the way labor was seen. We really have Labor Day in September, right, as a way to recognize people's work, people's labor in the workforce. All right, so when you're done with that, just take a screenshot of your finished notes and submit that for part 1.